we go. It is 6:02. We will go ahead and call to order the Marquette City Planning Commission meeting of Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. Are we recording today?
Yes, everybody please turn on your microphones and speak into the mics because our video recording system is recording audio, but it's not real good at it. So we need to be as loud as possible. Tracking our voices.
Thanks, Dave. So we will call meeting to order. We will start with a roll call. Commissioner Primo, if you don't mind to start us off.
Margaret Rayner, present.
Kevin Clegg here.
Christine Ranger here. Outside.
Dimitri Kalsis here. Eric Motley. Steve Laurie here.
And Sarah Northwell is here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Agenda passes. We usually approve the minutes by consensus, so we just sort of everybody had a chance to read the minutes that are in the packet. Because it's an opportunity if there's mistakes, oftentimes, if they're misquoted really badly, or there was some kind of mistake in printed minutes here. Here's an opportunity to just correct those. Does anyone notice any changes to the minutes from April 16th? Okay, so approved by consensus. That.
Should I abstain from that?
You don't need to abstain, but it's not an official vote, it's just like kind of a consensus thing. It's, just strange rules that we'll get to do. That one is just by consensus. Okay, and number 4, anyone have any conflicts of interest? This is probably not a thing because we're not doing any special land use permits, so. Anybody want to declare any special or conflict of interest? No, okay. So we have no public hearings. Are there any citizens wishing to address the commission on any agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we have no old business, new business. The draft community master plan. Maybe you want to just sort of give us an update on where we're at with that. There's a meeting on May 14th. Maybe they can give us a little bit more on that.
Yes, so for the community master plan, the commission meeting, city commission meeting next Monday, we have a placeholder in on the agenda to have them consider a motion this evening by the planning commission to distribute the community master plan for public comment. 63-day public comment period is mandatory under state law, Planning and Enabling Act. And so we sent a link to the master plan, the draft community master plan, the draft updated or amended community master plan to be specific. It's not the first one, it's the latest version. To all the planning commissioners. And hopefully you've had a chance to look at it and get a feel for it, because what we're recommending here is you make a motion for the city commission to distribute that document for public review. So it's as simple as that. We're not, the document hasn't been released to the public yet. It's just been released to the planning commission and the city commission.
And I know we have spent quite a bit of time on the community master plan, but if there are any final thoughts or comments that people noticed. I did notice a few like little typo-y things that we hadn't been nitpicky on previous drafts, but I thought maybe this is the time to point things out.
Sure. We've spent so much time doing that so far. It's just amazing that there's still anything left in there. I'm not surprised.
It's like realization of weird letter. So you
yeah, if you have any of that, you can email it to me.
Well, should we, if we make a motion, but there's like those minor changes, is that okay?
Yeah, those are clerical errors.
So anybody want to discuss anything in the master plan or?
Do you need a motion before we discuss it?
Do we?
So,
Yes. Okay.
I move that we move the master plan to the city commission, allowing for grammatical spelling and capitalization changes to be updated prior to the vote.
Go ahead and discuss. Mr. Lord, did you have a comment?
I would like to discuss one point, when they're not really recommending change it right now, but, at least get some discussion here, and that's, motion to suspend the rules and discuss.
Well, so, put a motion on the floor, somebody's supposed to second it, and then we have discussion.
I'll second it.
Second, and then we can discuss, right? Okay. So motion to suspend the rules for discussion about maybe some of the more substantial issues.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So, yeah.
It's just on the, look at the, place the tapes on the future land use map. One of the things that struck me is that we have, for quite a few years under the current master plan, we've been, trying to develop multi-family housing between Vision Street and 553. So, we have been some completed developments, there's road started, suspended at the present time. We will probably move forward in the future. And yet, on that, in the draft plan, the future land plan, that shows that as forested, suburban, and indicates that it should be clusters of single-family residential nestled into landform with meandering recreational trails. Land uses indicate clustered residential also. So it's just that it doesn't seem consistent with what we have been promoting there in the current master plan and what we seem to still hope to see developed there. I'm just wondering if either the South Marquette forum or the suburban South Marquette landform would be more appropriate in that area. It's currently shaded green between Vision Street and
If you're not pulling it up on the screen for the dates, that control the screen here, so maybe it's all be on the same page of where specifically.
Right.
I know we, discussed how the draft plan is to be considered a lot more flexible than the current plan. But I don't want to put obstacles in our way that we have to deal with in the future developments that come in front of us. And say, okay, well, it's not consistent with what we've just adopted. So I just wanted to bring that one point up. It would be a relatively, I think, simple change on the map. I'm not sure that it would require changing any text.
So which, I guess, what we can have, like where you can sense by.
This triangle.
So this is that way.
The reason I asked is I heard you go to the, I pointed out my review.
Okay. That is saying that she's already made that comment to the consultant.
Oh.
And there were comments that I made earlier on some of the other sections that didn't get incorporated either, so.
That's a good point, because I know you didn't put a lot of careful thought into kind of that. I didn't go through step by step, but you know, it's something in there, so I guess,
And it's the text that, I mean, you were talking about the map, Steve, but it's the text in the place type description that's not inclusive of that, right?
Right, it could be adjusted with either the map or the text, and probably easy to just insert into the text that that allows for family developments as well.
That's something I'm sure we pointed out. This is,
Okay, well, I mean, there's a reason there's a 63-day comment period yet.
right, yeah, I know, I can find the things too, and I don't take them.
As well. That was one that, as I went through it one more time, I came to, you know, this time.
On page 35, I noticed, and I think this totally slipped by me in the past, but on page 35, it is in the zoning plan for the downtown and east side area, in the descriptions of revisions, it said require buildings to be at least 2 stories in height. And I think that in the earlier part of the text, we talked about recommending that as opposed to requiring it. I don't know what you guys think about that, but requiring seemed pretty strong. I thought maybe recommend.
well, again, anything that's in the plan is a recommendation itself, it's not a law. It's just basically a set of recommendations.
But I think the language was just inconsistent between earlier when it was like recommend 2 stories versus required. So that seems really significant to me. Other than that, my other comments were pretty small. Oh, except for one thing on page 31. Page 31 was in that North Lakeshore Boulevard area. Let's see. It talks about the large undeveloped parcels north of Fair Street may allow moderately sized 2-story residential mixed-use building and community gardens. Yeah, community, it's like in that second to last paragraph. And I'm pretty sure that's like a former post office site, so I don't know if we want to be recommending community gardens in that site. That's it. Until it gets to the meeting.
Right, I don't know if we're planning our community gardens to be in ground or above ground either, so that would be up to you. So that's just like the guy said, we usually do, maybe 50% of that in above ground. But yeah, that's to be determined by training.
Just something to consider. Any other comments, little things, bigger things? Discussion on anything else?
I just point out that Carrie's motion, I believe, said to move it to the city commission with corrections made to things. Okay, so that won't happen then this next month.
Well, with minor,
But I think there's, I mean, all the stuff that Commissioner Bobby had put in earlier, like, we want to see all those comments incorporated too, so how do you want to just buy small changes? So,
Oh, there will be more. But if you wanted corrected, what I'm saying is the city commission will not be able to consider that next Monday.
But, okay, so we need to decide how much editing goes into the document the city commission is going to see, or
Some or not.
what's that?
Saying some or not, correct?
Well,
And
This-
some and they get and they don't get it.
so
Maybe.
So this document has supposedly been edited for the past 3 weeks before we got a link to it. It took that long to get from our last submission of edits to having what they told us was a completed document that was correct. Obviously not correct, 100%. And so if we go through iterations of them kicking it back to them and saying, fix this, don't send us anything with any mistakes in it, I don't know how long it's going to take. And what I'm saying is, it will definitely not be on the next commission agenda. It will have to be at least 2 weeks down the road. And then we'll have to go through this again, so at the planning commission level. So then it may not be at the next city commission meeting after this, because there's always a gap between city commission, the planning commission, and city commission meetings.
Are you asking a question, or are you trying to, okay, your fingers up, I didn't tell you were like plotting.
No, thinking what he said.
Commissioner got me, go ahead.
David, my understanding was that we, in this case, we, you and Andrea, have control of this document. Is that not the case?
No, it's not the case. We're not the editors of the document. We have been. We weren't hired to do that. That wasn't the role for city staff. Unfortunately, we did a lot of that. And then the consultants are supposed to make final changes after everybody who had a stake in it and got to submit things to them submitted those things. And we've looked at it. I mean, our staff has been the final view of changes from the different committees, the steering committee, planning commission. And I think this document was edited by us before this change, for, like I said, for quite a while, 2 or 3 weeks. And then they had it for 2 or 3 weeks before we got it back.
But I guess it's on the consultants because, like, again, I thought in one of the rounds, I forget which round it was, but Commissioner Lurie has some really excellent points. And I think that if those weren't incorporated into there, we should make sure that those get incorporated because we talked about them and we all agreed that they were important. So can we make some kind of motion like we can let the city commission see this draft, but we are still.
They have the draft. They have the draft.
This is sort of our final channel.
Yeah. If there's things, if you're not happy with this, then vote to not recommend it to the city commission. And we'll have to do this again.
Well, that's part of the, yeah. What is it exactly that we're able to give to the city commission? Is it draft with maybe clerical edits that can come later, or does it have to be completed at the point where we give it to the city commission? And it's no longer able to.
So we're not in control of the document. We don't have the text of the document. We don't have, they're probably doing this in a Adobe program called InDesign. They're doing all the layout. That was what they were hired for. They were hired for, this whole process. And we don't have the ability to go and make any changes to it. So it's frustrating because we give them a list of edits. They work on them as they're able to. They're balancing sure, a bunch of other projects they're doing. And we get what we get, and then we have to deal with it.
So my question still stands, what are we submitting to the city commission? Are we able to have them think very well independent?
You're either recommending that they release this to the public, or you're recommending not to, for them not to release it to the public.
Because you want correction.
I think the document is too important to rush it, so, I mean, until we see the comments that were offered in the last round, small but recommend versus, request. I think there's some small but important little things. I don't know if others are comfortable. Yeah, Commissioner.
This is really not a final document until it's been out and had the public input to it, and they'll tweak any changes they feel are pertinent. At that point, the city commission to approve it. At least that's how it worked when I've done this before. There were little things that, they saw the document, they reviewed it, they made their concerns like,
I think what you're saying, this is our planning commission last opportunity, right?
well, no, it's kind of past that. We're already,
During this public review period, if the planning commission has more comments on it, those can be handed to the consultants. The public comments are probably going to be compiled into an appendix, and for the most part, put into the plan as an appendix. I doubt there'll be any substantive changes to the plan based on public comments.
right, but one word kind of thing is what I'm talking about, could be added to the appendix to say on page 35, it's not required, it's suggested, that kind of thing. And that's how you make your corrections. Because otherwise you could be working on this forever, because there would always be something.
Commissioner Gottlieb?
Can we, this is still part of the discussion on the motion that I made. Can we vote down that motion and then at our joint meeting with the city commission next week, bring up these same concerns?
Couple of things here. You made a motion, nobody seconded it. Your motion died.
No, it's
Steve
just
did
a
second.
Okay, so then you made an additional motion after that before a vote asking for the rules to be.
Steve did.
Steve did second.
So there's two motions.
Well, we haven't seconded Steve's motion, which doesn't really count. So there's a motion and a discussion.
And I'm still in that discussion. To move us along, that motion can be voted down. Can the same suggestions being made tonight be brought up at our joint meeting next week? What happens if there's changes then?
So that's, the agenda for that meeting is set for land development code review. There's a special meeting like that is not intended to be something that's flexible to talk about other issues. So the answer is no, I don't think the city commission will add anything to that agenda. Because you know how long we spent on land development code stuff. They've got an hour and a half. It's probably what they're on spend.
Just looking for a way forward.
So you can vote to vote against the passing that motion and make another motion to either send us back for consultants for more edits, or make a motion saying you want to adopt let this be released for public comment, with the caveat that there are still some errors that have been found in the plan that need to be corrected. Planning commission can work on those meetings that we have.
The important important thing to remember, though, that this is not the law. These are only suggestions. This is a broad look at the community. So when we're going to word by word, that's not what really affects any of this. This is an overview kind of thing. Because as Dave, there's laws in place that,
I understand, I think that we spent a lot of time, especially again on the very detailed list that Commissioner Roy had in one of our meetings. And I just wonder what the consultants are doing if they're not taking our feedback and incorporating.
we had the same problem before with the consultants we used, trying to get it completely error-free, and this is just really hard. And it was a different consultant from home that did the plan that I worked on the other end.
Okay, so we can either, it sounds like, just to summarize what they just said, we can either sit on it, wait, have city staff reach out to the consultants and be like, can you tell us, ask us to the comments that we submitted and feedback and wait for that to get incorporated, right? That's option one. Option two would be to just pass this along forward and then with whatever opportunity there is for public comments, potentially take city comments, my comments, and put it in an appendix. I guess if we could be confident that our comments and the public's comments were going to be incorporated into it, I feel more comfortable moving this forward right now, but still we know that it's not going to just be a list of things that the planning commission submitted this stuff too. This is so well. Yeah, Commissioner Clark.
Well, I didn't mean to throw a whole bunch of you guys into the process here tonight, but I don't really have a good feel for how flexible this new future land use map is going to be, and what's going to actually present an obstacle to us as we've encountered with the previous one in a couple of instances. I was just trying to make things go a little smoother in the future. If we can make this work, I don't see a big problem submitting it. The list that you mentioned that I submitted earlier, I know you had that in writing, submitted it to that grader. And as I went through this updated thing, most of those were not incorporated in there either. So I'm a bit concerned that with their responsiveness, but I know, they expected to have this project done months ago. They moved on. They're trying to just get it out the door. And I don't know how responsive they're going to be if we give it back to them again. So at this point, I don't see any of it as being so critical that we can't just move ahead with the schedule that staff has laid out. No plan that we approve is perfect. There's always going to be something in there that doesn't sit right now. Even if it does now, it won't a year from now. So I guess I'm inclined to say let's just move ahead with the schedule, and if we can work around things that aren't exactly the way we like them in there in the future, try to do it that way.
Anyone else? Commissioner Freeman?
I've heard a lot of times say, the master plan, I always thought was a sketch of what the agreement was, what you can accomplish. However, many times I've heard the words, it's not in the master plan, you can't do it. Well, I'd suggest that you correct it or forget it, and if it comes up that it's not in the master plan,
Yeah.
tough.
I'm kind of with you, Commissioner Freeman. I mean, Commissioner Rory, do you feel like of all of the lists that you submitted detailed comment before, or would you be, let's say hypothetically, it never got incorporated? How would you be okay with that? I mean, worst case scenario, that it actually just never made it in.
Well, I much prefer to see them in there, but been submitting comments to the city for 50-some years now. They haven't all been incorporated, and that's probably the way it should have been, is that they probably shouldn't have all been incorporated. So, will I take offense to it? No. But I am trying to make sure that we have a document that is a workable document, because we get different interpretations. Yes, as Commissioner Primo pointed out, we've been told if it's not in the master plan, we can't take that wrong. But yet, as this new format was presented to us, it was very often brought up that we're trying to get a more flexible document, one that allows us to react more to different and new ideas as they come to us. And if they're not in there, we can still find a way to work with the document and say it's not in direct conflict with the document, therefore let's try to make it work. And I guess I'm willing to take that chance and try that approach rather than the approach that we've used in the past that says, look, it's not in there, we just can't do it.
And the community master plan is not legally binding on land use decisions like for rezoning, even if the map and future land use map says that this is the use for the property. That is not legally binding on the city commission. It's not legally binding on the planning commission either, actually. There are some states where it's actually legally binding. Michigan is not, is kind of in the middle on that. It's guidance. You know, perhaps you can find a motion that speaks to your reservations about the fact that the planning commission's comments appeared not to be fully included in the last edits to the document. And you'd like that those would be corrected before the city commission adopts the master plan.
Before it goes to print, because that'd be easy to do for them to make final corrections before they print.
So we can do that, and it's instead of before the city commission.
I think so. I think you need to make another motion that's a little more explicit about your reservations.
Okay, Commissioner Gottlieb, did you?
Yeah, I recommend that we listen to this discussion and turn down the motion, vote down the motion. I agree.
Withdraw.
Can you just withdraw
Can you withdraw the motion?
You can't, because you said that,
Or is it
even though I heard another motion after this, apparently I didn't hear that you seconded it. If there was a second, that's.
Sorry.
that's
Okay, so we
something
can
else.
vote on it, so we're gonna vote that
Yeah.
down. Right, so,
Before how the motion is introduced.
Right.
okay, so all in favor of the initial motion then? Commissioner Gottlieb is not in favor, all in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that one got turned down. Does anyone want to make a new motion? That includes all this stuff.
Steve. I know I'm going to.
Yes, I would make a motion that the planning commission forward the current draft of the new master plan to the city commission for release to the public from the start of the 63-day comment period, with notes that some of the comments submitted by the planning commission to the consultant have not yet been included in this draft, and we would like them included with public comments in the final draft before. Yes.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, the motion passes. Here you go, Jay. That was supposed to be the easy part, wasn't it? Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, next thing, citizens wishing to address the commission on any non-agenda items.
No, we have an extension request.
Yeah, no.
Oh, we have more new business?
Right, so I sent out a revised, I didn't send it. It got published, but you guys are just hearing about it.
So we have to
Sounds
compromise.
familiar.
It was the agenda that was up at the beginning of the meeting on the screen. We added this item, we got a request for an extension of the site plan for
420 North Third Street.
the business week.
So basically, in his letter, they're saying, please consider this memorandum as a request for an extension of the planning commission's June 23rd, 2023 conditional approval of the site plan for 420 North Third Street. The reason for extension request, our current building design does not meet the facade build out at setback percentage of 75%. We understand that consideration is being given to changing that percentage to 40%, at which point our current design would comply with modification requirement. For background, when the planning commission reviewed it, they said their response to staff comments is that they would revise the plan to meet the code, so that the planning commission approved the site plan with the condition that the site plan be revised to meet the staff comments. And we haven't received those revised plans. So this would be a first extension request. And per the land development code, it allows for, they can make an extension request before said expiration, which is big, and you can give it not more than 1 year from this expiration date. If they need it, they could come back for another extension request. So this would expire now on June 20th, 2024. So they're asking for the extension request to be June 20th, 2025. And I have the sample motion up there.
Okay, is there a motion to suspend the rules for discussion? Or a motion?
Move to suspend rules for discussion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? All right, Commissioner. Bobby, what's next up?
My memory is, can you tell me where?
Next to the word done.
Thank you. I didn't know which building we were talking about.
Is that big?
That's what I'm-
It's an empty lot, right?
I think it's a marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Brian Clark.
residential.
And offices, 3-story building.
Yeah, Commissioner Beck.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we discussed the discussion of the facade stuff at our last meeting, and it was,
For the land development code amendments.
yep, and that was what we recommended.
Correct, but it's not guaranteed and they're well aware of this, but no matter what, with the timing of everything, they're not gonna be able to get me any revised plans to meet the code as it is, for us to review it all. So I told them, look, you gotta submit this.
I believe the firm that was doing that was, Minnesota too, the gentleman that came and talked to us.
Yeah, I've been talking to different people, they're architect and engineers, and been some different areas.
So they're not even in Michigan, so that might be.
No, the proprietor is.
The proprietor of the company was using.
Any other comments, discussion? You want to make a motion?
Well, I can read it.
Hold on,
Can you make it bigger?
I'll make a motion that the planning commission should approve the request for an extension for case 02-SCP-06-23 with the expiration date to be 6/20/2025.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that motion passes, so is there any other surprises agenda items? Okay, now any citizens wishing to address the commission on non-agenda items? All right. We have no correspondence or reports or minutes or other boards. There was a training article. Would you like to discuss the training article?
Yeah, this one, is from, January, February issue of Michigan Planner. Good, article about walkability, how, some of the historical figures in city planning, had walkability, intentions at their, kind of behind their, design ideas and philosophies for cities, going all the way back to the pre-city planning era, before that was a thing really, as a profession, or before there were plans, like the Garden Cities movement around the turn of the 20th century. And it's kind of an interesting thing. It keeps coming back up. It's never really gone away, but it keeps coming back up with new sorts of names or different types of concepts. And it's now the 15-minute city is the current moniker for walkability efforts in urban planning. That's the hot new topic, 15-minute city. And we've talked about that before. In fact, when we, I think, looked at that possible affordable housing or subsidized housing on the north end of McClellan Avenue a couple of years ago, that was something that I remember talking about a little bit with the Planning Commission, was the fact that that area has no, that particular neighborhood, there's no stores, convenience stores, mom and pop groceries or anything like that within a 15-minute walk of that. Basically anything north of the fair and west of McClellan. So they're kind of putting land over there into conservation, recreation, great for the environment, ecosystems, not good for the fact that you locked up more potential, all those lots from the potential for corner stores, something like that. So anyway, this is a really nice little, very brief article about some of those previous concepts and how they influenced planners and decision makers over the years. And our 2004 master plan was, the title on the cover is the Marquette, the premier livable, walkable winter city. The city hired Dan Burton, who was at the time the most famous person in the world, probably promoting walkability in cities. He came here to Marquette and conducted community input sessions and surveys, walked around town, and made a bunch of recommendations. And then on top of that, Pat Coleman, our Uper planning friend who runs the business called 45 North, or North of 45, he's based in the Keywan. He was promoting the Winter Cities thing, which is still something he's involved with and still had to get into his current master plan project we're working on. So between the two of them, the walkability and the Winter Cities thing were kind of at the heart of the philosophy of the 2004 community master plan. And it's kind of interesting how that has changed to some extent. Now we're not really looking at Marquette as a winter city anymore. It's a four-season city that is probably trending towards a northern Georgia climate before some of us will die. The walkability thing walkability, Marquette has a great grid street network in the core part of the town. And a lot of the town has excellent curb ramps. There's not a lot of cities that have as probably as many curb ramps for as many intersections as we have. And we've got an excellent sidewalk maintenance program, which is not common in the Midwest. So we've got those things going for it. Marquette has not been able to rise to the challenge of a walkable winter city. I think all of us would probably agree that is extremely challenging for our climate and with the kind of money we've been able to throw at the snow removal or the techniques we've been able to throw at snow removal.
I think that the future's bright because I'm looking over here at our new commissioner, Commissioner Calcis, and he's Calcis, am I saying that right? Yeah. He's got an earmarked version of Jane Jacobs in here, so.
All right.
He's done his homework, clearly.
Yeah, it was funny you sent the article to me, and I'm almost halfway through the book. All right.
Another cheer. Do you have thoughts on the reading initiative?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing argument. Everybody wants it done. Everybody can borrow it. I mean, that's, I'm obsessed. I got the economy of cities is actually in our library. And either way, I was reading that before I got mine up. It's showing, but yeah, I read often. It's amazing. Can't read that. No.
Very cool. Anybody else have thoughts on the training article or? Yeah.
Well, I just fool around with, they tell how many acres each town is. Well, Marquette is closest to Ann Arbor. We got 19.45 acres, but 8.6 acres. The 8.06 acres is water,
You're talking about square miles.
square miles.
19 square miles acres.
Right. And they're about the same size when they're 133,000 people. So they must be living on the water. The only other comment that is, what you're suggesting is walking in the future, we're gonna have to be very careful that we don't get hit with peaches, right?
That's in the future, the next draft of the people master plan. Future rule. Okay, any other thoughts? Yeah, Commissioner?
There's one thing that kind of complicates the winter sidewalk maintenance more than it should, and there may be an alternative way to dealing with it in the future, other than what's been done in the past. Sidewalk maintenance is not eligible for the same maintenance funds that the city receives to maintain the streets. It's gasoline tax money that's turned from the state over to the city. That can be used for plowing the streets, sanding, repaving, things like that. But under the rules of Act 51 that covers that, you can't maintain sidewalks with that money. And so all of the funding for sidewalk maintenance has always come out in a separate account of the city's general fund. Now, with the state taking a different view of streets, under the Complete Streets program, there may be an opportunity to change some rules and regulations in Lansing that would allow gasoline tax money or others, street maintenance funds to go toward sidewalk maintenance in the future. That would certainly help the city. I don't know, when I was there, we typically sent out 10 street plows and 1 sidewalk plow after a storm. And depending upon which one got there first, you might be able to get through the intersection afterward. But there was always an effort to send sidewalk plows back the following day, again, back down in roads that block the intersections. I'm not sure that's been explored. It was a blocking in place myself. some of the solution might not be local, solution, it might be something we have to pursue through this.
Any other thoughts on this?
I just have one, have we ever thought about, creating benefit districts for sidewalks specifically?
Sure, Steve. I'm not sure exactly what the definition of it is.
So it's where a certain, I guess it's in the taxes, so I'm familiar with that, but a certain portion of the village goes towards just a certain part of the infrastructure.
Well, I guess the way the downtown development authority is somewhat meets that definition because they do assess additional village. And one of their promises to their constituents is that they will maintain walkable sidewalks 7 days a week. So,
Some of that too will be given towards sidewalks.
yes, the city has had an ordinance in the past that's mentioned in the recommendations. Consultants for us to adopt have no order maintained doing sidewalks. We got rid of that ordinance. Codification. And because it was not a workable solution, it's something that a lot of communities in the UP at least have on their books, but I couldn't find any of them that enforced it. In my opinion. If you have a, elderly individual, you still want to maintain the home. If you want to smoke, you still have the ability to maintain that sidewalk. Unless they can rely on neighbors, doesn't matter. So they could send them a bill for having to send them to it all.
That's why we should help you those use.
Okay, there's enough, we will move on then to our next agenda item, which is the work session on the land development code amendments, which I didn't see anything in the packet.
No, so we have an item to talk about, and this is a carryover item from the last meeting that we needed to wrap up. This was something we had decided on, with the ground lot, maximum lot coverage for 3 to 4 family dwelling units in the medium density residential district. We decided to, which is a new thing for that district, because it's being recommended that we allow for, in medium density, for triplexes, and then quadplexes would come under the same rules. If this gets adopted and they become, triplexes become legal use and are permitted use, and quadplexes are special use, they'd still have the same standards, which was what was agreed on, was the 50% maximum lot coverage for impervious surfaces. We didn't.
Excuse me, could I just ask them that? You made it a little bit bigger, because this is the angle we can't really see over here. Thank you. What was that?
Yeah, you don't have a paper copy either, but this, I don't know how you can see, there's a screen behind you too.
This is good, this is larger.
So we needed to do the same thing for the multifamily district, because we didn't have a 3 to 4 dwelling unit standard in there. So, that would be something we would put in there. And then 4 or 5 plus multiple dwelling unit structures. We also need to change that standard, and we're putting that placeholder in there for your approval at the 50. Just for everybody's information, the planning commission is also recommending that we eliminate minimum separation requirements for buildings in multifamily. districts so that developers will only have to comply with what's required by building codes, not a minimum standard that's set by city zoning, which is still in the code. There's a minimum 1.5 times the height of the building separation requirement, which is something that's probably not really good going forward for encouraging development at a reasonable cost. Properties that are developable. So there's that, and then is there
Adding the, we said about the
adding 3 to 4 family. And then there's already the 1 to 2 family in there, but there wasn't a 3 to 4. The 3 to 4 is a pretty new category that we put in. We didn't catch those.
And then if, once we fix the table, we need to fix the same to match it for maximum lot coverage for the MFR. And then if we're doing that, we're wondering if we should be lowering the minimum outdoor building space.
So this is a footnote from that table of general schedule of general regulations, which calls out all the dimensional requirements. There's footnotes in for each zoning district. Not everyone has footnotes, but these are the footnotes for those MFR districts that have a maximum lot coverage ratio of 20% and minimum outdoor living space of 40. And again, just a note down there on the bottom of what outdoor living space means. It's pretty broad.
Thoughts on this? Are you good with this change?
Consistent with what we previously discussed.
So you're okay with the 50?
Yep.
What would you guys like to see for the minimum outdoor living space?
What is the current? Is it
40.
40? What would be a reasonable amount given our 50%?
So the original was 20, and then the minimum outdoor living space is 40. So there was a 20% difference. So if you're going 50, maybe 30.
30. That seems reasonable.
Seeing heads shaking, is that good to go? Okay. I lost the mouse over here, so bear with me.
So that's everything. Oh, this. So wanted to run this one more time. Because I don't know if you heard, but the state of Colorado just adopted a law saying that municipalities cannot limit the number of roommates. And I think I forwarded you an email about this. So this isn't based on any particular data except for maybe economic data that says that a lot of people are not able to find housing in Wisconsin, a lot of major cities. And so if we keep these numbers, they made a decision that if they keeping the numbers to a particular standard isn't necessarily good for the housing situation and the economy or all the interrelated things.
I know you've told us this many times, but what's there is a requirement for like square footage per individual, right?
For bedrooms, the fire department has a standard for it depends on the number of people are expected or being told are going to occupy each bedroom. So for one person, there's a number, right? It's 100 and something square feet. If it's 2 people, then it's a different standard, but it's not double the number for one. It's a lower, and so on. So they do maintain that they won't certify a rental unless it has an adequate amount of space. And that's a lot of that's based on, they go in, they figure out the volume of the room. And then it has to have so much volume to be able to have, if the place has a fire, smoke will be able to rise to a certain height. And that is the only standard that we have for the size of the structure. We don't have a minimum structure size that we enforce in the city. We don't require a home to be so many square feet. Some cities do. We don't have that.
Is that, like, I'm assuming that's the logic of the Colorado law, then, is like, there's other codes that could help prevent overcrowding.
Yeah, I would think so. And our consultants recommended we increase the number, the consultants for our master plan, that we increase this number. They didn't say a specific number. But going to 5 that's a pretty big change. So it's allowing another 25% on top of it. So that was what we were kind of thinking would be a logical step. Especially in college town, I don't think we're going to do more than that right now. And the mechanics of this would be that if the planning commission recommends this, if it gets adopted into the code, then the city is going to have to, the city commission is going to have to require that the city code be amended to say 5. And that's just something that will have to happen. Because right now, the city code, fire department, they regulate it by that number of the city code, which is the same as this. And it's not a big deal, that can change. So it's basically going to be the city commission recommending that change or not.
Okay, how are we feeling in Commissioner Baker?
Can we check with the fire department? Because I think that's the only limiting factor.
Yeah, they haven't said that they're opposed to it.
So they would be agreeable for that from a safety perspective.
I'm not sure that they'll be agreeable, but they'll at least get a chance to consider it if it's put in front of them. But, the city commission will certainly probably do some checking with them.
Fire
If
department,
you put it in front of them.
yeah, they are.
Anyone else on the city commission?
Well, I can see where we might be making progress in one direction and reversing the other. Obviously, this helps somewhat provide some additional housing. But I think one of the results will be increased rents as well, and driving rents up even higher than they are. So how much of an effect it has on increased housing, I guess, remains to be determined. And it isn't typically the number of people that have residents that presents the problems, it's the number of people who's not found a way to really address that separately, so. And even though you may have, 4 or 5 residents, they do regularly have guests too. So it's going to be whatever number we pick it for there isn't going to be hard. That's probably it's I think 5 is good. It's a place to start. See what the results are. We might find ourselves reversing it in the future, regretting it or whatever. But it's a good step that we can take to address the housing shortage.
Yeah. What is the reason for having a limit in the first place? What is their concern?
Congestion. That's an old planning term for too many people in the area.
What about all those other things in place with codes and things?
Yeah, and I think it's, what Steve said, the impact of that many people in a dwelling, and especially on a small parcel where we've got duplexes, and you can have 8 unrelated adults in that unit and how that can drive people to basically turn their whole backyard into a parking lot and pave most of the lot, parking, that kind of thing. Noise, other nuisances.
Could we relate this to veterans per dwelling? Or single housekeeping unit?
That would be a harder, I mean, I guess it's possible. It would be more complicated regularly trying to do that.
That we can relate it to zoning laws.
So just even think about the information that we have is not always accurate. We can't get into the structure. So we're only going off information that they give, and some people may have an office that then turn into a bedroom or a bedroom into an office. These are things that we don't know. The fire department getting in to inspect or a rental, we could figure out that information. But I do think it would be, saying that going by bedrooms would be tough, because they could say, well, I got 10 rooms here, I want 10 bedrooms, I want 10 people in there. Now we're running into other categories. If you got 10 bedrooms, now you're turning into a bed and breakfast. So there's, I don't know, the way we have it now meets the rest of the code language that we have. Plus it matches with the city code right now as well for the fire department section.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The law requires that to be a bedroom, that it has to have a door. And so you can't turn living rooms into bedrooms unless it can be closed off, is usually what the building goes to get an occupancy permit. So the bedroom should be, I don't know, just like you have to have a door in the bathroom in order to get an occupancy permit.
And we have had people illegally
Yes,
change their living room, trying to turn it into bedrooms and cutting it off.
dining rooms, dining rooms are big.
My question is, who are we trying to help? Average person looking for a house for his family, or are we just trying to help out a few people so they can make another $500-600 a month? I mean, after our last meeting, I was put at ease because I learned last meeting that number of parking spaces will control how many people are in the house. And I actually took a ride by where I used to live when I was growing up. And the house next door used to have 6 or 7 cars parked in the front yard. But that house burned apparently sometime in the last few years. So it's condemned. But the corner lot where I used to live, the car parked in the middle of the front yard. And every house in that neighborhood is now college rentals. So as a person, if you wanted to rent a house for a family, you might be able to go to $1,300, $1,400 a month and pay all the expenses. But you definitely couldn't go to $2,500. Most people anyway, unless you're working for the city. And in fact, one of your neighbors made a comment that the houses apparently on 7th Street, or Fisher Street, I mean, 7th are rentals. And all summer and in the spring, no one can visit his house and park in front of it because all those parking spaces are used up. So I don't know, you live there too, so.
Getting back to this, what do we think about, we want to go down the line and just say who's in favor, who's not, if we moved it to 5. Right, that's what the proposal on the table is, so 5. You're okay with
Well, first off, I don't care what Colorado does. Colorado's done a lot of things that they're regretting now. I think the way it is probably bad enough.
Okay, So your favorite.
So I don't feel increasing it is gonna do anything, but it's a shame that a lot of the people out of college rentals take very good care of their property, but you have a whole lot of people that just keep renting it out, renting it out, renting it out, and they don't care. They get their money, that's it. There's no way to distinguish, that's the problem. That's it.
Yeah, we just go down, where are we at? You want to leave it as is?
That's really hard, the lot next door to our old college rental. They paved the entire backyard to get enough parking spaces to build this whole house, and they have made no improvements on it as long as we've been in town. I mean, the porch is falling apart, you know. So I don't know, it's really hard. You want to maintain the structures, you want it to be safe. I can see 4, I can see 5, I don't know that there's any appreciable difference other than you've got to deal with another car.
I just wanted to comment about Mr. Creedwell's comment. I take slight offense in how he said that there are people and then there are college students. Let's not forget that all the students that are staying in town are people too. They need a place to stay, and there are people that can offer that. I know for a fact, not in my places, but there are students that are living 5 to a house right now. There are families that are multi-generational that live in the city, and currently they must live illegally to make that happen. We need to open it up. I'm in favor of increasing it to at least 5.
People just go down the line or something.
No, go.
This is new today. We do have, housing crisis here, right? We do. I can see moving it to 5. But I do understand the car issue. I guess for me, it would be how it fits with the fire code and making sure that within those buildings that we're allowing 5 to, that code would cover safety issues. That's my biggest concern, making sure that everybody's safe.
Yeah, I think they're increasing it, and they're moving it all together. It sounds more like it's a vehicle concern than people or family concern in one unit. And it's not, and like the current codes would take care of the safety, hopefully, people living in those units, so.
So I'm also in favor of increasing as well as abolishing. I'm realizing now that I lived illegally today. So about 2 years ago, I was in a 5-person single family home, and it was my only way of being able to afford to live in Marquette. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to live there. Parking, there was enough parking, but that is because one of us didn't have a car. And that's what we should try to strive for. So there's 2 sort of issues here. Is that one is walkability, bikeability in cars, and then the other one is housing. Right? So if we take one of the problems away from this conversation, saying, hey, we build a better, more sustainable way of transportation for our people, then we should be able to solve this issue a lot easier. So I guess that's my question. Abolish. Bye.
Question, don't we have regulations for non-permeable surfaces? Wouldn't that help cover the car issue as to how many spots?
So, because like Wayne said, there's gonna be people parking illegally in front yards, at hours where we're not catching them. And the people that, you can park behind the front of the house on unpaved surface, so
your whole rear lot can become a big dirt parking lot like the neighbors that Wayne was referring to next to my neighbors have that situation.
My feeling is to go to 5 and enforce the regulations that we have.
Well, I think it's a little bit irrelevant what we have in regulation, because most people are even aware of regulations. And those that aren't necessarily following it, even if they do know what it is. So what we put in there is more of a feel-good number than anything. I think there's ought to be some cases where we can resolve an issue by having a number in there, but I did real estate for a very short time period and found out that one of the houses I was trying to sell actually had a student living in the garage. Uninsulated, no bathroom. There was a funnel through the wall of the garage. It was the bathroom. They would have ducked out the back end and the cot set up the bed and stuff, but we don't say nobody can live in the garage. And I'm aware of, it dates back actually before our fire rental code, but a fire fatality that occurred when someone was sleeping in a closet because they had too many people renting the house. They had cots in the closet. You know, always in a pocket, so. What we put in there is more for our satisfaction, it's like whatever which we would project, whatever, but I don't think it's going to work very well to control the actual numbers. And we have to rely on people to control themselves. I've got a rental behind me, it's owned by a company out of Escanaba. And yeah, there's 4 people there some of the time, but most often there's more. All peaceful for tenants that I don't believe. A big party after graduation. It was the backyard. So I'm willing to go to 5, but like I say, I think it's almost meaningless though.
It seems like the majority of people want to go to 5. It's nice when we have consensus, we get to consensus, but people will be good with like a 5 as an incremental step in that direction. Wayne says no still.
No, it's just another problem. It's already a problem, it's a bigger problem.
Are you recommending that we reduce it to 3 or 2?
There was a recommendation here, not that many years ago, of going down to 2. The whole place was filled with realtors that, some of them, you know, they have 200 rentals and different ones, and that was all because of me. That was my fault. I should have let it just slip through. One of my friends had rentals up north, and I mentioned it to him, and he got the whole crew together. They were lined up. So, I mean, if you're gonna go to 5, why not go to 6? What the hell's the difference? The same problem.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, 6 is
okay.
fine.
Let's just,
You're gonna have just as many problems. You're not helping, to me, you're not helping the ordinary person. You're, not too many people get together and say, let's 5 of us live in the house.
Demetrius, I know what you're gonna say. We are not at a point where this is a piece of code that we can remove. It goes so much with all the other code, that's a huge code amendment. But that's something we get the next, like, that's really what you guys want to do.
my question was actually, is this applicable to co-ops? What do you call it?
So those, they have their own use designation, and then they have their own requirements as well.
So that's the other alternative, is just, you know, it can be left at 4, and there is an alternative to apply for a housing co-op. But that's generally multiple owners, not a structure where you have typical
I just want to say, this is one of the things that would be highlighted in the discussion with the city commission. Obviously, we're going to have, well, we're going to have 60-something pages that they're going to be looking at. We can't go over a fraction, and we'll be going over a fraction of it. And we're going to call out the most impactful, potentially impactful items. So this would be one of the ones we would point out is a recommendation in that you're on the fence, as I observed. It's not, this isn't a slam dunk planning commission recommendation in 65.
I think the problem, I mean, I think Wayne made a good point. The problem is that some of these housing units are not managed properly. And that's like beyond our code. And I don't know if there's anything short of like putting like fire people, you know, landlords are really responsible. I don't think we have capacity to do that in our land development. That to me, I think is the bigger problem here. It's not-
Well, this number is enforceable, and we have required people to provide the leases that they have. But if anybody knows who's been in a college rental as a renter, it's pretty easy to violate that lease without the landlord knowing. The landlords oftentimes don't want to know. They don't care if there's an extra 2 or 3 people there on the weekends or during the week. If somebody gets a subletter, they're not going to know if they're living in Escanaba or nowhere here. But we do get complaints from time to time about the number of people, and we have been able to enforce the number through the lease agreements. Pretty rare.
I do understand this point, so I do actually, that's what I was saying, I do shoot for 5, but if we could get co-op housing, because I know if you're a co-op owner in a housing unit, you have ownership of your property. You will treat it with respect, because you own that portion of that property. So if we could get, let's say, a co-op to increase their unrelated number, and I'd be for that, just stick with 5.
There's language in there about intentional living.
Yeah, that's-
There's language about
So that would be one of my, these other projects, like changes, increasing that number. And get more ownership to it, even if they're together.
Those are special land uses, so it's a case-by-case basis on what the numbers.
Okay.
We do
So-
have another avenue.
Going through the list, I never, Sarah, I didn't hear you were,
Oh, I would lean towards 5.
right, so that would put us at,
It's the majority.
it was 6 to 2.
Yeah.
6 yes, 6 no.
Those nine.
Or I'm sorry, 7 to 2.
It was 2.
You.
No, I said it was fine. You were kind of like either way. I said that I didn't care. That it was fine.
Oh, because you were referring to the negativity of all the stuff, so I thought you were.
No, I just pointed out that there's still, we didn't get rid of some of the problems.
Okay, so then 8 to 1.
So it's not something on land development where we don't usually vote. I mean, better just have consensus. I don't know. I have full consensus, like.
So we can put, Sarah, I think, if I may, just including this as something the majority of the planning commission is recommending to the city commission is going to probably want to get some more information before they make a decision on adopting that. I mean, that's something they can pull out of the code when they make a motion to approve the amendments. If they don't want to approve it, they won't.
I'd also like to note that our consultants for the new land development code are also recommending it. It's not just 8 of us, it's also our consultancy that we have paid for. Or master plan, sorry. And
That's why we brought it up. That's
Yeah.
one of the things.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we can just bring it to the city commission. They I'm sure will have their own opinions too, so. Present that information.
Okay, so we've got majority on both accounts, so we'll make those corrections and add it to our final document.
Is there more land development code?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so there was more.
More to it.
Oh.
No, I thought you said that all.
Oh, I heard more.
So it's a hard time hearing down here, because I thought you said something that you didn't say, and yeah, okay.
Okay, well, that's good. I thought we had more.
Yeah, we're up to your wages.
Okay, well then we are at commission and staff comments. We can just start down the line. Commissioner, do you want to start us off? Any comments?
Only comment I've got, wait to 5, 6, or whatever you want to go to. Also eliminate any host that's going up at a reasonable cost for a family to buy because it was got up. And turned into a 5-person rental. That's it for me.
I don't know, there's no easy answers. These are all tough questions. And I understand the need for housing, but like she said, I'm really concerned about safety. That's probably why the fire department is interested in forward. You know, we can encourage these rentals to have extra egress for fire. That would be a suggestion.
And no comment today.
I'm glad to be here.
My comment is just welcome.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Granger, Commissioner Felsis, thank you very much for your willingness to serve on this committee. As you can see, we get really into the weeds on things and then, oh, you love it, good. I was like, I love it. Be very tedious, but we're really grateful for you guys to be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm grateful to be here.
I'll have to go real quick with them.
Just very first meeting, I enjoyed getting to know every single one of you. I look forward to
Just say, you're welcome to the members of the community, have some new perspective of the commission and, on the last item, problem with our fire inspections is that they are all scheduled by appointment. So people are well prepared for them.
They're very professional though.
What Queen was saying is what I was trying to point out. If we try to be a little more flexible on numbers, the costs are going to go up for everybody else. So it's kind of seesaw here. We may feel that after we've done this and try it, the best options would be reimbursement, of course. Too. So that's all. Thank you.
I wonder if there's more students, it's mostly going to be students that take advantage of their landlords or rental students take advantage of having higher occupancy allowance. If that would free up more housing in the city, and I think that would be the advantage of it, if there are a few more places available in the city that help, but the cost could be too high.
The only thing is the next meeting is May 21st, and we do have.
Except for the work session. next
Oh, and the work
Tuesday,
session on May 14th.
5 p.m. at the Municipal Service Center, main floor.
Will you send out our email for that?
And you guys had a question about?
I know you sent out. Yeah, you did. I'll s-
What was that other place that you were talking about?
1100 Red Street.
Oh, the thing at the college she was asking about.
Just Thompson's thing tomorrow at that.
Oh, you didn't
Oh.
get into that.
Yeah, that's part of our, the learning circles for the Climate Adaptation Task Force 2049, Marquette 2049 project. So it's kind of open to the community as an opportunity to learn about. People were invited, but there were a lot more people invited than will show up. So any of you that you didn't get a formal invitation, show up.
And that's tomorrow.
10 to noon, or 10 to 11:30, I think is the actual scheduled hours. In the ballroom. What's that?
That's 5.
Oh, is it Peninsula 5?
Yeah.
and this meeting will be adjourned at 7:32.